are talking about apology languages. And exciting thing, right after this, we will go directly into a healing meeting.
Yep.
On the fourth Wednesday of every month, right after we do the live, we go into a healing meeting. I
Yep.
love that.
Me too. It's fun.
Yep.
I love it.
Tu will drop the link in the comments. Thank you, Tu, for our fabulous comments. If you ever want to say hi to Tu, just say hi to her. She's there furiously commenting, just being amazing. All around being amazing.
Yes.
So let's see. What do we have for in the way of announcements? Our emotions and money class is going on.
Yeah.
Boy, we're stirring up some feelings.
Yep.
Stirring up some feelings. This week, we're on the emotional and financial
Triggers.
Ooh. And I wonder if everybody is triggered.
Oh, I definitely.
Yes. And let's see. The healing, of course, already said the healing meeting right after here, too. We'll put the link in there. Our next roundtable Sunday is July 7th.
Wow.
Which will be after
July 4th.
It's so funny. It's like we can read each other's minds a little bit.
Independence Day.
That's right. And we will be, if anybody has an appointment, we will be closed because we need a day off.
We'll be sending out an announcement.
And after July 4th is July 5th. Do you know what July 5th is?
The day after July 4th. No, I don't know.
I am shocked.
No.
I am shocked, Missy.
I have no idea.
When do we premiere on Grace Awakening Network?
yes.
What have we...
My deadline has had nothing to do with when it premieres. It's been
I know.
The dates in my mind are more like when we have to get it done and get it turned in and things like that.
It has been crazy.
Yeah.
Up to getting it ready, and just the upload process, getting it all together.
Yeah. It's like I've just been thinking about that one date in June. We got to get it done by this date.
And so we walked through the first episode and getting that loaded and the process with that. So I feel a lot better about the process and working out the intro and the outro. And it was so funny. This first one that we did, I got the time wrong on it because you have to it has to be an exact time. So we had 2 minutes to burn at the end. So we had to tack something on at the end.
It looked great, though.
Well, hopefully next time we will. It's just a learning curve.
I agree.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a learning curve, and so we have to learn. So, but I'm very pleased with it.
Me too. I think it's perfect.
I think we did great. The next spiritual workshop is Saturday, July 13th, and I'm so excited. My pastor, Pastor Earl Gardner, will be doing the workshop, so we'll be getting more information about that. It's the same way, second Saturday of the month. It'll be Zoom from noon to 3.
Yay!
So that'll be
fun. Be very exciting.
It will be. So let's go on. We always like to do a little chit chat.
Yeah.
What's going on in your world, Christina Crane?
I think right now I'm just trying to get my my beach stuff gathered up because I'm going to take my niece and a couple of her friends for her birthday to the beach for the day.
That's going to be fun.
In a couple weeks, yeah. Not right now, but in a couple weeks. So just trying to get that together.
I need to look for my beach umbrella for you.
Yes. But I don't know. Other than that, I mean, we've just been working.
That has been our life. Is getting prepped for this. I kind of feel out of touch with reality.
I know.
You know what I mean? When we're so deep in that deadline and so deep in technology, and man, we were doing some additional filming last Saturday. Ooh.
I know.
Everything was going wrong.
I know. Oh my gosh. As usual, technology was not our friend.
It was not our friend that day. And so we ended up having to come back and film the next day.
Yeah.
But we at least we got all the technology worked out. And it's a lot.
It is a lot. There's a lot of details. There's a lot of little things that go into it that you wouldn't realize.
No. Mad respect to people who produce things.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
Like that. And mad respect to us
Yes, for getting it done.
Doing it all.
My mom had some family in town too this week, so that was nice. I had
That's true.
my aunt and uncles came over. My mom has a sister and a brother, and then her sister's husband came too. So my aunt and two of my uncles came over, and they got to see my place and hang out, and we got to visit and catch up, and that was really nice. I enjoyed that.
Fun.
Yeah.
That is fun. We did a late Father's Day luncheon at my parents' house.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
Yeah, I bet.
To celebrate
it's a good
everybody.
time.
Yeah.
To celebrate the fathers.
Yes. My brother-in-law works in the restaurant industry, and so sometimes he can't always on that particular day. So we always try to accommodate.
Yeah, you don't think about that. Some people do have to work on those holidays.
Well, those are big holidays.
Yeah.
In the restaurant business, those are big holidays.
Yeah, to go out to eat and things like that. That's true.
Nobody's getting off unless, it's your time to get off.
That's right.
Yeah.
But mostly we've just been grinding at it.
We have. Yeah, just kind of, it's been so neat to do so many exciting things this year. So many new and exciting things. And it just even gets me excited for all the stuff we have coming up for the second half of the year.
Agreed.
Because, man, we got a lot of stuff. We're getting the new website ready, getting more online courses ready, some more groups. We want to do another group and get those really going.
Yeah.
And really, it's been neat to begin to build more of an online community, too.
Yes.
And be able to be there and be a support for people that are farther away.
Yeah.
So that's neat to do, like I said, the groups and do the online classes and just even the healing meetings. The healing meetings are really neat in the way that I love it. Anybody can join. Anybody can come in. If you need prayer, if you would like a lot of times what we do is we continue the conversation about what we're talking about on our live and just other things. Just be there for each other.
Yeah.
And so
I think it's an awesome time.
I totally agree. And I think it's pretty fun.
I agree.
So last week, you know what? And I want us to go to see Inside Out too. I want to go see it again.
Yeah?
I saw it with B and Tristan. Oh, they were so fun to go see it with. Tristan was so excited. He was so cool.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It was good. It was good.
That's great.
Yeah. So if you haven't seen Inside Out 2, I would highly recommend it. It's neat because it's going along exactly with the Emotions and Money class.
Yeah. That's what you said.
I know.
Sounds awesome. I can't wait to see it.
I know. It'll be fun. So last week we talked about making restitution, the apology language, making restitution. What can I do to make it right? So this week we are talking about planned change. And this planned change is, I can't even talk today. Planned change is interesting because it used to be called genuinely repenting. But I think that the authors figured out that was a little triggering, a little judgy, because if it's genuinely repenting, then you're kind of judging whether that person has repented or not. And so I agree. I think planned change is a much better title for this apology language. So some of the key points, and what's really, I think, interesting, each week that we've talked about apology languages, we've kind of, put in a little bit extra with each time because, again, with apology languages, it's a little interesting because things aren't always so black and white.
Right.
And we can get hurt and it not be something that's black and white.
Right.
And then it becomes more, do you care about how I feel versus you did something wrong?
Yes.
And, we've been talking about sometimes how some of the languages will really kind of bump up against each other and work in opposition to each other.
Yeah.
Like I'd say mine is expressing regret. So if I say, my thing is I'm sorry, but if I'm talking to a making restitution person, if they're like, but I didn't do anything wrong, then they're not inclined to say I'm sorry.
Right.
And so they kind of go together in the way that they just bump up against each other. So ultimately, we've kind of been laying the groundwork and talking about, do you care?
Right.
If you're going to at some point have to prioritize your relationship and speak that person's language. You're just going to have to suck it up and to do that. We've also talked about how apology languages, they aren't like, this is something to nurture your relationship. This isn't for the emergency room relationship.
Right.
You know, if you're in the ICU or you're headed into the emergency room, you know, you're bleeding out, like apology languages, this keeps the respect going and it restores connection. Remember, we talked about, we really need all of these apology languages, but at the same time, there's one that opens people's hearts a little bit more. And if you're in the emergency room with your relationship, there's so much disrespect that's been going on. There's so much I don't care. There's so many wounds. There's so many hurts. It's always a good practice to do the apology languages, but understand it's not going to fix your relationship. This is more of a maintenance, ongoing. Let's keep our, you know, what do we do when I get hurt? How do we keep our connection going?
Right.
Yeah. Because what's interesting to me is a lot of times when people's relationships break down, they'll come in and they'll want to find a quick fix.
Yes.
How about not be a jerk? Like, I don't mean to
just
be
like
rude about that,
but
you know, and that's on both sides. That's not just for one person.
Right.
We have, and I don't say that condescending. I don't say that. And we love the people that we see. But when you are in a state of wounding, a lot of times people are real jerks.
Yes.
And you've gotten to the point where you're so hurt. And I really feel like we're speaking to somebody out there. If you're in a relationship with somebody and that, you know, whether it be romantic or whether it be any type of other relationship, it can be a platonic relationship. If you've gotten to the point where you're not acting like yourself, if you've gotten to the point where you are just being ugly and acting like a jerk in your relationship, just stop. Because it's not going to fix anything to do that. If you think about it this way, in totality, like say you're here in your relationship and you want to be over here, you can continue to go this way, or each decision that you make, each action that you make is going to take you closer to where you want to be, or it's going to take you further away. The beautiful part is you can make a new step at any time.
Oh, yeah.
You can turn around and start headed the other way at any time. So I feel like, you know, there's somebody out there that we're really speaking to, and that their relationship has really disintegrated and they're frustrated and they're angry and they're, man, it hurts to be like that in a relationship. And so just know that every decision you make can take you in a new direction. Just one decision begins to take you in a new direction. And if you're being a jerk, just stop it. Just stop the bleeding, right? That's what we say here a lot. Stop the bleeding. Because if you stop the bleeding, then you can begin to reconnect. Then you can begin to restore. When people are, and we get to see the best of people, we get to see people at their best, and we get to see people at their worst.
Yeah.
And if somebody is at their worst, obviously we just love them through it. But understand, in your life, if you're being ugly, you're destructing your life. You are self-sabotaging with yourself, because most of the times when we get ugly with people, what we really want is them to be okay with us, them to like, we want connection. And it's hard to hug a porcupine. Right?
Yes.
And so when you think about apology languages, when you think about love languages, when you think about attachment styles, all these things enhance your relationship. But at the core of a relationship has to be a mutual respect.
100%.
For
all the time.
For one, you got to respect yourself, and you have to, because not everybody is going to behave the same.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
And so in that, what do you want to do? You want to say, I want to be the best version of myself, because I want to be the best version of myself in that. Man, what do you see when people come in? What do you see are acts of disrespect? How would you say acts of disrespect towards themselves or towards other people.
I think honesty is probably the biggest one that I see.
It's huge.
Yeah. People just
dishonesty.
Well, that's what I mean. Dishonesty. See? Yeah. And I guess honesty, dishonesty, not being honest, not being truthful in the relationship or towards yourself.
Yes. Because why be in a relationship if you're going to lie?
Right.
Just get out.
Right.
Get out.
And why come in here and lie?
I know.
Why? Why would you,
I love it. I love it when people come in.
This is the place you can be totally honest.
We're not. With no judgment from us.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
So, dishonesty, dishonesty. And, I would say also that you have to have a foundation of, this person is for me.
Yeah.
The enemy just messes with your mind so much that if you don't believe that person, just pre-decide that person, either that person's for you or they're against you.
Right.
If they're against you, get out of that relationship.
Yeah.
But if they're for you, then don't let the enemy play with your head.
Yeah. I hear a lot of well, they say they love me, but I don't know if they really love me, or I don't believe them. And it's I think it really speaks to what you're talking about too. You just have to trust that person is for you.
And so when we talk about apology languages, this isn't going to make or break your relationship.
Right.
But it 100% will enhance your relationship. So a lot of the stuff that we talk about here are deep level relationship stuff that like that with the foundation, there has to be honesty. Why bother if there's not?
Right.
Because a lot of times the reasons even people aren't honest with each other is because they avoid conflict. I don't want to hurt that person's feelings. No, that's not true. You don't want to have them upset with you. It usually is the more accurate way to say that.
Yeah.
And in relationships, you have to take risks.
Yep. You got to put it out there. You got to just say it. You got to just put it on the line. See what happens.
Yeah. And it's even cute when people start dating. They want to put their best foot forward. Absolutely, you want to do that. But don't show up as somebody you're not.
Right.
It's like kind of the all the filters on the photos and stuff nowadays. They're like, those online dating. Is this
like
you?
The same? Right.
You can do that. People have been doing that for years with their personalities.
Yeah.
They're trying to act like, oh, I never say no to anything. And then they get, deeper into the relationship. Now.
That's true. That happens all the time.
It does. So in apology languages, I just like to put those caveats there, because don't think that you're going to go into the relationship ER and this be the be all end all. But at the same time, it enhances your relationship so much, because when there's a wound, when there's a hurt, if there's not stacked up wounds, like as the wounds come in, if you will practice this, it will keep it cleared out and you will keep connection.
Yeah. And if you know your partner's apology language, it certainly might get your foot in the door.
Yes.
Because sometimes if your relationship's in the ER, it's hard to even make that step in that direction.
Yeah.
So at least it's a step in that direction.
Effort.
Yes.
And remember, consistency always wins
right.
out. And that's why I don't say it flippantly, don't be a jerk. Because if you do two nice things, then you're a jerk. Then you do one nice thing, then you're a jerk. Like, the consistency is not there.
Right.
Because we all want to know, how will you honor me when you don't feel like honoring me? How will you honor me when you're mad at me? How will you honor me when you're having a bad day?
Right.
And that consistency, I would say, with honesty and consistency, those and believing somebody is for you, those are so important foundational elements to your relationship.
Right.
Because we all want to be okay being the worst version of ourselves. Not that that's a goal, but then have somebody respond back with love and kindness.
Yeah. We all want to be loved, but we really want to be seen and loved.
And seen when we're not lovable.
Exactly.
And have somebody still love us. And if you think about it, that's what Jesus did. That is that is in essence the good news. How did Jesus love people? He loved them for who they are. He didn't need them to change. He didn't need them to be different, because at the end of the day, like, you definitely want to be in a relationship with somebody that can reciprocate, but at the end of the day, you cannot let your emotions be controlled by how somebody else is behaving. You have to regulate your own emotions. You have to not be taken off your path. People will say, well, I wouldn't have done it except for, no, you did it. That was your response to that situation. That wasn't this other person. That was you. That's how you respond to things. Man, relationships, we love relationships, don't we? But they can be really complex.
Yes.
They don't need to be. But to learn how to show up in a relationship and to be yourself and to be confidently, boldly yourself and still be empathetic to the other person. Sometimes it takes a little bit of work, because we've got to learn to do that for ourselves first. When we talk about when we talk about apology languages, it's so important that we learn to apologize to ourselves first. You know, we talk about our little boy or little girl inside of us, and reparenting ourselves and making that connection with, you know, with our own self. And when we're able to do that, then it's out of the overflow that we can do things. So with planned change, aka used to be genuinely repenting, but that was a little triggering, so it got changed, which I 100% agree this is a better wording for this. Planned change is all about, I need to know that you have a plan for how you're going to handle this situation if it comes up again. So that it doesn't keep reoccurring. And so a lot of, you know, some of the key points are, I will try not to do that again. And I'll say, for me, I don't like that word try, but a lot of people don't have the thing I have. Like, to me, don't try, just do it. But I get that the reason it tends to be in there for try is because I'm going to do my best. I'm going to do my best that this doesn't happen again. So maybe that's a better way to say that. I'll try, because I think that's used by a lot of irresponsible people. And saying, like, I'll try. Like, what is it? When somebody says they'll try, what are you thinking? No. But to me, if you say I'm going to try in regard, like, say, I'm going to do my best, totally get that. You know, nobody's perfect. Nobody has to be perfect. So try your best not to let that happen again. But if it does happen again, this is how I'm going to handle that. Do ask them what they would like to see changed, in the way that, because remember, we've talked about this. It's kind of two ways. We want them to weigh in, but then we just don't want to put it all on the other person either. We want to say, you know, here is how I think that I can do this differently next time, so that doesn't happen. Would you agree that that would be a good plan? And they could say yes, or they could be like, you know, I don't know that would work for me. So this is what I suggest. So you want to not just walk in there and be like, I don't know what to do. What do you want me to do? Like, don't go in with that attitude. Because remember, part of taking ownership and apologizing and saying, wow, I'm sorry that I hurt you, and I want to do this differently next time because I don't want to hurt you, and here's my plan to do it differently, is that you put thought into it, that you put care, that there's a sincerity, there's a genuineness to it, that you've thought about this. It's just not like, oh no. Like, you ever see people be like, oh no. What's wrong? Oh no. What are you going to do different? Oh no. That never goes over well in joint sessions. And marital sessions and relationship, you know, two people sessions.
And asking, what do you need? What do you need them to do differently next time? What are you looking for?
No.
What would speak to you? I was having that conversation the other day with somebody. I said, what could they do that would restore that for you? You know, and they were like, I don't think there's anything, you know. I'm like,
then maybe that relationship is over.
Exactly.
Because it is hard to be honest to ourselves, you know, to say, like if there is something, like if I've offended somebody and there's literally, we talked about it kind of last week with restitution, if there's literally nothing that I could do different with making restitution, that apology language, we talked about it last week. If there's nothing I can do to make it up, then that person kind of has to let you off the hook. They don't have to let you off the hook, but there's going to have to be some movement on that part to, like it's not going to, they can't make restitution for it.
Right.
So kind of like that's what you were talking about there.
Yeah.
But back to plan change, ask them what they would like to see changed, right? What would you like to be different? Here's my plan for how I'm going to handle this different. What would you like to see this done differently?
Right.
Always have your own suggestions for that too. Like I said, that oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh no. That's so funny because it's true that people, because that always will come across as you haven't put any thought into it.
Right.
That are you even present? Do you even care? Are you plugged into the situation? Remember, apology languages is all about connection,
right,
with each other. Yeah.
Reestablishing that connection.
Yeah. So these are the do's. Remember, we have the key points. Now we're going to talk about the do's for planned change. Do convey a plan for changed behavior. Like I said, if you're going to do this apology, walk in there with a plan. Understand that they might want to have input on that. Do be very specific about changed behavior. I'm going to try to do better. Like, no. Because just like, like we talked about expressing regret for ours, then what do we want to do? Do you want somebody to be specific about what they regret?
Yes.
I'm sorry. What are you sorry for?
Right.
Like, sometimes it really depends on, I'll say, like the level of offense that's happened. And is this a repeated offense? And so like sometimes, oh, I'm so sorry. That would be perfectly sufficient. But if it's something that's happened again, then you're like, do they even know what I'm upset about?
Right.
And so with that expressing regret, then be specific. But I would say that's really a thing for all the apology languages. Be specific about how you're going to change that behavior. Let's say you were late for lunch, right? And that person's like just a time person. Some people, I would say, like, if you and I, if one of us was late, it wouldn't be any big deal.
Right. But
for some people, like, if you're 1 minute late, then you disrespected me.
Yes.
And there's, I mean, they have every right to feel that way. If it was at 6 o'clock and then you walked in there at 6:01, that is, that is. And some people are very picky about that.
Yeah. And
some people are not very picky about that. And it's okay. Some people are like, as long as it's not too late. But then some people are like, it's 1 minute, then
that's too late.
You stole a minute from my life.
That's right.
And so with things like that, I would say, I apologize. I was late. Usually this will go along with, taking responsibility and things like that. I was wrong. What I plan to do next time is I'm going to leave even earlier, especially if it's rush hour. I didn't plan for rush hour. I apologize. Next time I will definitely be making sure that I leave earlier so traffic doesn't interfere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To show them what you're going to do different in the future.
And so it's being specific, for one, about what you're apologizing about, and being specific additionally for what you are going to, how you're going to plan to make that different
in the future.
Yeah. And remember, specifics, especially when it's a larger hurt, the larger the hurt, the more specific you want to be. The more that, if this is a repeated offense, you want to do that.
And you just got to leave your ego at the door.
You really have to. That's why I said you have to decide if you want to be, you want to have connection, or you want to be right.
Right.
Like there's not really
according
a way.
to you.
Yeah. because the truth is usually somewhere in the middle.
That's true.
And some of the things, like, we've talked about, it's just black and white. Like, say, if I said something to you and it was, even if it was like an issue that you had, like it was a you thing, in order to restore the connection, there would still need to be an apology.
Yeah.
Yep. And so sometimes we think, oh, it's just that other person, that's their issue, that's their problem. But do you want to restore the relationship?
Right. Do you care?
Yeah. Because if you're friends with somebody and they're growth minded, they're going to grow. They're going to realize but at that moment in time, that's just where they're at. And do you care?
Yeah. I think, and two things can be true. That could be about you, and you also could still would like an apology.
Yes.
Or however you need to restore that from that person. It
doesn't have to be about right and wrong.
Right.
Is what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be, like I said, obviously if there's, if you're late, then that's a black and white thing. If you slap them, what did we talk about last time? You stepped on my toe.
I think you said if you stepped on,
you stabbed me.
I was trying to show the obvious drastic difference between stepping on my toe and stabbing someone. Very big difference.
Very, very, very big difference. Because you can hurt somebody and that totally not be your intention. Like like some people are very sensitive to certain words and maybe use the word that's very offensive to them, but overall it wouldn't be offensive to the majority of people. So it's not like you did something quote wrong, but also even if it's their issue with that word, if you hurt them, just care enough to say I'm sorry. Care enough to make it, oh wow, how would you do it with change behavior? Oh wow, I didn't know that felt offensive to you, but now that I know, I will remove that word from my vocabulary when we talk.
Right.
And that, it's just as simple as that. Because if you're going to fight over whether that's an okay word to use or not, you're going to miss the whole point of staying connected in a relationship.
Or if you fight over intention, it's not what I meant. It's not what that's not what I meant when I said that. I didn't mean that about it. It doesn't. Then just say I'm sorry, or just be willing to.
Because we can't speak to other people's intentions.
Right.
So if you make it about other people's intentions, then you're going down a rabbit hole that's completely different than the subject that you're on.
Yeah.
And if a lot of people will talk about their motivation to give context, but if you give context during an apology, it muddies the waters and it dilutes it.
It does.
Yeah. Give context later on, but not just in that moment.
I will say, you will be shocked if you actually implement this in your relationships, and because for someone to open up and say, hey, you hurt my feelings, and do it in a, not in a middle of a fight, not in an argument,
not in a manipulative way,
right? But just genuinely open up and say it's a very vulnerable thing to do. And so when you meet that vulnerability with compassion, oh my gosh, people will melt.
Want to hurt you.
Right? Yes. People will melt.
You mean the right response isn't I didn't do anything wrong. That sounds like a you problem.
That won't be helpful.
It won't. But it cracks me up. We see people apologize that way, or respond to apologies like that all the time.
Yep.
Because that's a great point, Christina, that people do let their walls down and they're very vulnerable and they're like, oh my gosh, you hurt me. Or I'd say a better way to say that is, I got hurt.
Yeah.
In that. And immediately the only response is, I am so sorry. I would never want to hurt you.
Right.
And if you say anything, if you're fighting about your motivation, if you're fighting about, your right to do whatever, you've missed the boat. You've missed the relationship boat. You've missed a moment to return vulnerability.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because if somebody comes in and they're hot and they're like, that just pissed me off, that's different than someone coming in and saying, there was something you said when we talked last and it just stuck with me and it just really hurt my feelings. It just is a tender place for me. That is a really vulnerable thing to talk about.
It is, and you should meet them where they're at.
Whether you think it's important or not, whether you think it's worth them being upset about or not. It's not about what you feel, it's about what they feel.
It would be like, oh, I wouldn't be upset about that.
Right.
Well, I am not you.
Right. Exactly. So. Which is what most people do.
Sadly, it is.
Yeah.
And what we do is we immediately go to it. We feel bad when somebody feels bad. So instead of just staying in that uncomfortableness, we try to get defensive.
Right.
Or minimize it or rationalize it. We do all the things that kills vulnerability.
Yes. And that will just murder connection.
Immediately.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. Because I will say the most vulnerable, I think the most connected I have ever felt with people is when we're both willing to go there and be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to stay in that uncomfortable state, that state of tension while you're trying to work something out.
Right.
And especially, like I said, if you put your wall down.
Yeah, you see their heart, and it's over. You'd be like, I'm sorry. What can I do to fix it? Can I replace that? How if I could go back, I would change it. I was wrong. Like, you'll just do all the apologies.
Most people, or some people will, I should say
some
that.
People
not
will.
All.
That's
some
very true.
Some people will fight to the death just to be, quote, right.
I know.
Instead of, they'll prioritize being right over connection.
Yeah.
And that, and then they wonder why they have broken relationships. They wonder why they come off like jerks. Yeah. They wonder why they can't have sustained relationships over long periods of time with people. They wonder why they don't have a God squad. They wonder why people avoid them. They,
Yep.
And we've all been in that place in relationships before, but it really is turning around and not playing that blame game, not blaming myself, so I'm a little worm, and then not blaming other people, so they're a little worm, but just saying, wow, what I'm doing is not working.
Right.
Maybe I wasn't taught how to have communication. Maybe I wasn't taught how to keep connection on. So what? If you will admit that, wow, I don't know anything about this, then you can do something different.
Yeah.
Just like basketball. If you don't know anything about basketball, great thing is you can learn.
That's right.
That doesn't have to be your forever fate.
Right. And the more you grow that muscle, the more comfortable you get with that. Oh my gosh. It just opens up relationships in ways that you can't even imagine.
Absolutely. Okay. So let's talk about the don'ts. Don't make your own plan without considering them.
Yeah.
Like and what I mean by this is sometimes for changed behavior, what we'll do is I want to do what's comfortable to me, or I want to do. It's kind of like buying a Christmas present. No, right?
No, I do that.
It's kind of like buying a Christmas present for somebody because you like it, and not taking into consideration that, wow, they might actually not like that at all. So don't make your plan without considering what's okay for them and what's
like
not.
My punishment, I'd much rather be consulted, like if I was a kid, like some parents be like, what would you like you want this, you want this? I would much rather get to be like, I think for my punishment it should be this. I'm like, for my apology and how I'm going to fix that, I think this is the best way. Don't you agree?
Because what opens somebody's heart is just what opens their heart. And sometimes, it's like you said, we have to check our pride at the door.
We do. Man, what you think is, like, somebody could say, well, in order for that to be restored for me, this is what I need to see it going forward in the future.
This is what I need for changed behavior.
Like, to you, it might be like, that makes no sense. That's ridiculous.
Like, that would do nothing for me.
Right.
But it doesn't matter
what
it would do for you.
Right.
It's going to be what it does for them.
Yeah.
Also, don't be insincere. Don't, if you're feeling like that person is being extra, you're going to put that through in your attitude.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to pick up that vibe.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
Maybe they do need an extra loving touch in that area. They need like soft hands. Like handle them gently.
Be soft. That's right.
And you're like, oh, that's so ridiculous. So when I say don't be insincere, don't act like that.
Yeah.
Don't act like it's not important. Don't act like it's not serious to them, because that will come across in your attitude.
Yes.
And don't roll your eyes. Don't have your body language be like, oh my gosh. Also, I'd say don't be vague. Like we talked about. Let's be. If somebody wants changed behavior, remember also the higher the crime, the more specific you need to be about how this is never going to happen again. I am going to put all my energy in. This is off the table. It's never happening again. And you need to be very specific about that. Some ways, we got to watch the time. We're getting ready up on our healing meeting. So this is what some of these apologies with planned change might look like. It's too late to do anything about it now, but I want so badly to avoid this type of error again. Let's talk about what I can do in the future to make good on my promises. And you know, you can't go back and do it again, but what I can do is make an effort, make the commitment to not have this happen again.
Right.
Yes. It may take some time to rebuild your trust in me, but I'll be working hard from now on to prove I am trustworthy. Things like that. You deserve recognition for your hard work. I will be more balanced next time.
I like
you
that.
know? Because sometimes, you know, we all like to feel appreciated. And sometimes if we don't show enough appreciation, what is planned change is I am going to offer more praise later.
Yeah.
There's, you know, like I think especially in romantic relationships, married relationships, sometimes what your partner feels is like, say, if somebody feels not appreciated, the example of that, it doesn't mean you're not appreciating them. It just means you might be appreciating them by bringing them flowers every day. But if they're not into flowers, then that doesn't, you know, maybe they're into hugs.
That's right.
Just give them a hug every day.
Right.
And it's free.
That's right.
So a lot of what this is about with the apology languages is to key into what is important to them, what is valuable to them, what is high currency for them. So I want y'all to think about this. We're going to be discussing it some more in the healing meeting. We're going to pop on Zoom at 8 p.m. So join us over there. Next week, we're going to be wrapping it up, and we're going to be talking about the last apology language, requesting forgiveness. A lot of people don't think about this, or they minimize this, but this is very important for somebody to actually ask, you know, say, will you please forgive me? Remember, when in doubt, hit all of the apology languages, because it makes a complete apology language. But make it thoughtful. Make it sincere. Make it personal to that person. So I'll pray us out.
Okay.
And we will be meeting on Zoom for the healing meeting.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
The link should be in the comments.
The link is in the comments.
It's also on our Facebook page.
Yes. Many places where you can get it. And it's on our website under the events also. Yes. You will find us. If you desire to find us, you will find us. Let's just pray. Dear Lord, I just thank you so much, Lord, that we are a body of Christ, and we would love to be connected. We desire to be connected. We want to be connected. Lord, I just thank you for our hearts, and Lord, that you just bring people in our heart, into our lives, that we can knit our hearts together. Lord, I thank you for the friendships that we have. I thank you for the relationships that we have. Lord, I thank you that you give us the ability to steward them well. In Jesus' name, amen.